Hey everybody, thanks for coming back to my channel. I switched it up today and I didn't say hey guys, because I always say that. Today we're going to be watching a video, a former psychotherapist from the Chris Williamson podcast talking about how couples therapy is basically useless. And this actually really hit home for me, seeing how I literally went through this. So I wanted to review it here with you guys and also get your thoughts, especially if you've also gone through this. So yeah, let's watch it together and let's see.
Therapy is useless, not because the therapy is wrong, but because most couples don't go to therapy together until one of them is absolutely not wanting to work on the relationship anymore. They're using therapy as an excuse to air their frustration one last time.
So many times I've had couples come in, and that's exactly what it is one is all in for it and is convinced I'm going to fix their partner and tell them that they've been right all along, and the other partner comes in dreading it because their partner's the one who set it up, and they say, what sort of buzzsaw am I walking into? And it is a miserable experience for all three people involved, unless I can turn them around and convince the other partner that I'm there to help them, in which case the first partner is convinced that I have somehow pulled a switcheroo and they are now going to get betrayed by their coach now who's working with them. It's an ugly process. It is really ugly. The only time couples therapy really works is when they are coming in because they both want to make it work, but they don't have the skills and they have no idea what to do. If they both want to make it work, it's an amazing experience. If one of them doesn't want to work and doesn't have the guts to say it, it's a horrible experience for both people.
You know, I think that makes sense, right? Like anything, if one person is in and the other person is out or not willing to participate or whatever, of course things are going to go bad. That's like with anything, so that's not surprising. And generally, it's like one person who recommends couples therapy, right? They're like, hey, we should go to couples therapy. And the other person's like, why? I'm fine. It's just like a whole thing, right? They get very defensive.
Why is it so rare for couples to go to couples therapy before the stage that one of them is basically ready to call it quits and needs an arbiter between the two of them?
Really, you should be going to couples therapy before you're even in a relationship. Like I remember growing up as a kid, before you're married, sorry. I remember growing up as a kid and in Catholicism, right, Catholic, they would do like this, what was it, like a week or something? Like anyways, there was a certain amount of sessions that you had to go to as a couple before you got married to learn how to be married and communicate and all this sorts of stuff. Like it was very common. I don't know if people do that nowadays. Yeah, I agree. It seems like something you should do when you're all sort of lovey-dovey and happy with each other, is like learning these things. And then it's more of a positive experience rather than going in afterwards when things are already fucked up.
Because most people do not have the skills they need to speak to their partner proactively and productively about the problems. So they just pretend there aren't problems, or they throw anger and excuses at each other over and over and over again. One will try, the other withdraws, then they switch, and the other tries again, and the other one withdraws. And they only vent to the people around them. They don't actually go out and get proactive solutions from the people around them. And their family systems are usually broken, so they've never seen a healthy relationship. They think this is as good as it gets. They only seek professional help when one of them panics because the other one has made a change.
One of the things I learned in couples therapy, and it was kind of like two things that you should do. So one was when your partner is clearly upset and they're like talking to you about something, right? They're like, hey, you didn't do the dishes, whatever. Just like actively listening to them and hearing their concern and be like, and then being able to rephrase it back to them. As soon as they agree with how you've said it back to them, it's clear that you understand. And then the next thing would be, what can I do going forward to improve this or make this better? So number one is like validate your partner by listening to them and being able to repeat the issue back to them. And then number two is kind of almost the solutioning side, which is what I always like to drop to. I didn't like to do number one. I'd always jump to number two. As a man, I'd be like, okay, how can I fix this? And you need to do the first step. It's like, Sean, you need to do the first step. You need to validate, and then you can get to solutioning.
And I will also say this. Women change for relationships, typically. Men only will change for circumstances, which is reality. Women will usually be done with a relationship a year or more before they're actually ready to get divorced. Men have no idea that this is coming. Men get blindsided, and they say, wait, I'm finally willing to give it a try. Let's try couples therapy. And she's been done for a year. So this is a very common problem right there.
Do you think that that explains part of the reason that most divorces are initiated by women?
Absolutely. At 100%, because most women have spent 5, 10, 20 years changing for the relationship, hoping that her husband will secretly somehow change for the relationship too. Men only change when they observe a problem, and then when they believe that there is a solvable problem there that they can actually work on. It takes both of those things for a man to actually work on something. Most men will only change enough to try to stop the discomfort that they're experiencing and try to go backward.
That's so hilarious, though, to hear that. Oh my god, that is so classic guy. It's like, how can I get her to stop yelling at me? What can I do? Oh my god. Okay, so in my relationship, this was kind of the case. She was done like a year and a half, 2 years. She had already told her friends, like, I want to divorce this guy, and then she decided to stay. Just because financial reasons. She was enjoying the lifestyle, you know, like I was working, she was in school. She's not making any money. So she was like, I'm going to stay. Like, hanging on for that reason. We go to couples therapy. It was kind of this situation. She's the one who recommended it. We go in, and she's telling me, look, you can't talk about these certain things about herself. I was like, well, that's weird. Why can we not talk about certain things about you, but we can talk about all about me? Well, that's the rules, and that's how we're going to go. If you start talking about me, we're not in, you know, these things about me, then we're not going to go. And I just agreed to it because I wasn't like against the therapy. I was like, well, it could be valuable. Like, I'm all for therapy. So I was like, you know what? It's her therapist. She's recommending it, whatever. I know, like, I'm going to go in, like, her therapist will kind of be on her side, but whatever. And so, of course, a bunch of the sessions are like, Sean, you did all these things wrong. Fine, I did all these things wrong. Yeah, I know, I'm not perfect. I'm gonna do bad things. When I kind of flipped and it was like, well, let's talk about your partner's, all her stuff. Then it was like, we're not going to therapy anymore. Like, the whole thing changed. It's like, no, we can't have this. We went to a few sessions and it was like, no, this is gonna work. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're canceling this session. No, we need to move the session out. No, I'm not in a good enough mental state to have a session about this. Like, it was very double-sided. Let's just put that. It wasn't, anyways. But I learned a lot from it, so I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, it's. I have a number of friends that have either been through couples counseling or are going to couples counseling at the moment, and I would say that the archetype is, as you've described, that it really is. If this counseling was to make the relationship better, it is a severe uphill battle, which I imagine, from a therapist's perspective, makes couples counseling not exactly fun.
So I went through school, graduate program, 6 years for a master's degree, and then an additional 3 years of apprenticeship, of hard apprenticeship under clinicians. So it's a 9-year process to become a marriage and family therapist. 9 years of training of them telling us, you will get burned out on this job. Couples therapy is hard. Couples don't actually usually get better. Very few of them do. It's hard work, and you have to completely detach from their outcomes, because otherwise you will drive yourself crazy watching one couple after another tear themselves apart, and there's nothing you can do to help them. This is the messaging they gave us, and it was very true. You come in, you do the best that you can, and you guide them forward. And usually the biggest piece that I would do is get them to a point where they could say, what got you together in the first place? Where do you have any commonalities? And where is there even a sliver of hope that both of you could work together on this? If there's even a tiny shred of hope, we can make this work. Really briefly, one time I had a couple come in to my coaching practice. They both had very, very bad attachment, very bad attachment. Neither one of them knew it. One of them was having an affair. The other one wanted the relationship to work. The one who was having an affair wasn't sure if they wanted it to work or not. I educated them on attachment. First session, educated fully on attachment. Second session, got them working on bonding together and doing what couples are supposed to do. Third session, taught them communication skills and conflict resolution. By the fourth session, when they walked in, both of them were happier in their relationship than they had ever been, even as newlyweds, even as they were dating. The person who was cheating said, absolutely not. I'm going to do this marriage. It's amazing. They had healed their attachment together, and they were now growing closer to their friends and their family at the same time.
How much do you want to bet the person who was cheating was the guy? Not that women don't cheat, but women are more likely to forgive somebody for an affair rather than men. If a man finds out the woman had an affair, oh my God, dude, that, whew, oh, I feel like men are real harsh with that. It just feels like women are better at forgiving that. And that's just my personal opinion. Maybe you guys disagree.
It only took 3 sessions of doing the deep work because both of them were committed to it. If a couple wants to make it work, even extreme circumstances can work, but you must both want to make it work.
How does a pair of people who have got ingrained responses, habituated thought patterns, routines built into their communication style, the way they relate to each other, the way that they show up to each other, how can it be the case that 3 sessions is all that it takes to deprogram something which, at the very least, we're taught should take 66 days to break and make a new habit?
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. It's curious because here's the piece, is so many people are living with a decision they made when they were 1 year old that said, I am scared, I am hurt, I am sad, I feel vulnerable. People will abandon me or people will betray me. There is something wrong with me or with other people, and I am not ever going to be able to be open again because I will never be this hurt, this scared, this vulnerable ever again for the rest of my life. They don't even remember this decision. But that foundational belief has been set into their brain as an absolute fact of the universe. Gravity pulls things down, water is wet, and love is impossible, and I must live in fear for the rest of my life to stay safe. That foundational belief, once you hear it, and say, oh, I have been believing that, but it's probably true. And someone comes in, an attachment expert comes in and says, it is not true. Here's an alternate model for living that is possible. I want you to think about it over the next week and tell me if it's ruining your life or if this is something that we could fix.
This is so true, right? Like, we've talked about this in other videos. People have this mindset that they got to live in fear, like, oh, I can't rely on my man because, you know, he could leave me, he could divorce me, he could cheat on me, whatever. They always think of the worst case scenario when they're like, that could happen, so I have to protect myself. And then you don't fully commit yourself to a relationship. And I always say this is the 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing. And this is what he's talking about. When you fully commit, although you are potentially taking more risk, you will have a closer connection as well. In a way, well, not in a way, will reduce your risk because if you have a closer connection, why is someone gonna like run out on you if you're really connected? Like, that's the whole point of being in a relationship.
And they'll think about it and it ruins it for them. And then they start seeing the matrix and they say, wow, maybe there is 2 different ways to live. And maybe I've been living the wrong way. Maybe I'm willing to learn. And then they learn it. Once you've got it intellectually, cool. Once you experience it, that's where it begins to change, because when you experience the difference, your brain chemistry balances out, right? I deal with the 5 big brain chemicals. There's more than this, but the 5 big ones we look at: vasopressin, oxytocin, GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, and serotonin. Those 4 are absolutely crucial to get through your good relationships. If you don't have good relationships, you've got a dopamine button that you can punch like a monkey. This is where people have porn addiction and all kinds of addictions and phone addictions and gambling addictions. It's because their brain chemistry is off from their wounded relationships that they've never been fulfilled. It is like a duck that is terrified of water, so it lives its whole life on land. It's like a duck who will never fly because it's terrified of the sky as well. It's a duck who is continuously walking because it thinks water or flying is going to kill it. That's what these people are like. As they experience even a little bit, the overwhelming brain chemistry that floods through them from good relationships is like a duck who finally learns to swim or finally flies and says, this is not just not scary. It is exhilarating. It's everything I was built for. Your brain is built for these things, and the addiction to the good takes over, and it heals you much more rapidly than most people are expecting. It is not about habits. It is about cultivating the right experiences so that your brain takes over for you.
I thought that was a great video. I thought he explained things very well, and I really like how we ended on the, you know, if you have these positive experience and positive relationships, then it's like just a beautiful thing almost, right? You get addicted to that positive way of living and then you become that way. That's how I view life. You're around negative people, they're going to spread their negative energy on you, and then you're going to be negative too, right? So you want to be around people who are good and positive and have those good emotions, and so you will have those things as well. I really think the answer about the therapy thing, though, is that, yeah, people need to go to therapy before they decide to be in a committed relationship. If you do that in the beginning, I think you, like he said, you learn those tools, you learn how to live, be together, live together, experience each other in such a positive way. What are your guys' thoughts? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I love what he's saying here, and I wish I had known all this before I went down the marriage route. I will leave it there. Please like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you on the next episode.